Hello, my name is Massimiliano, and with this video, I would like to talk about the situation that has happened in Japan in the last 2 years related to the entry ban. A little disclaimer also, English is not my first language, as you might notice, but I wanted to use it to reach as many people as possible who are in the same situation or just want to know more about it. Also, I don't have a proper script, aside some points that I would like to cover. I'm also sorry about the quality of audio and video because they are not great. I'm not a professional YouTuber, but I wanted to record it because it's a situation that I really care about. Now, I will do a quick recap about what happened, starting from the beginning. So I and many other students should have started their period of studies in April 2020 in one of the many language universities or graduate schools in Japan. But we all know what happened, unfortunately, so things didn't turn out as expected. Um, Moving on, the obvious confusing situation at the beginning, um, many students, workers, and even foreigner residents in Japan have been stranded outside of the country, creating many problematic situation, of course. I will focus more on the student's point of view because I have lived it firsthand. In fact, I was supposed to study there as a language student, but the dynamics are very, very similar to the majority of us. Now, to fully understand the problems of the students, I would like to open a small parenthesis to briefly explain how admissions, study periods, and visa situation works. So, when you decide to study in Japan, you need to apply for a visa. And being a fairly long process that required many documents, a lot of students, as I did, often rely on agencies. I have leaned on Nihon, and I would like to sincerely thank them because they have always been available, professional, and extremely helpful. So I will personally always recommend them. Keep in mind this video is totally not sponsored by them, but I really wanted to mention them because I think they're great and they helped me many, many times in many different situations. So this is my personal advice if you need to plan a trip to Japan, a study period in Japan in the future when Japan will be open. I will really recommend them. So the main deadlines are usually in April and October. And some schools also allow other periods, but here I will mainly focus on these two, especially on April, because in Japan, the month of April is usually considered the beginning of many things like schools, universities, and also for new hires. In order to study the language, for example, you can ask for a maximum of 2 years, after which, once the visa has expired, and you don't want to move right after to higher education, or you're looking for a job, or maybe you're just waiting for a response from a company, let's say, you can ask immigration up for 3 additional months. Otherwise, apart from specific case, is it necessary to cancel the visa and go back to your country? You are not allowed to work if you don't have a proper visa. Of course, it's very illegal. From this, you can understand that if I want to fully attend the 2 years and then enroll to higher education, which I repeat, more likely will start in April as well, I would not be able to start in other terms than April because I will go beyond the month of April. If I start to study the language in October, for example, and then I want to study in a university, I could only study the language for 1 year and 6 months. From this, you can understand that if I want to fully attend the 2 years and then enroll to higher education, which I repeat, more likely will start in April as well, I would not be able to start in other terms than April because I will go beyond the month of April. If I start to study the language in October, for example, and then I want to study in a university, I could only study the language for 1 year and 6 months. Now, I understand that this doesn't apply to everyone, of course, because some students might just want to study for shorter periods and then uh, come back to their countries. But it's still something that we have to consider, since can also affect them. And here is the core of the problems. No one gave us, agencies or even schools, any kind of informations because the Japanese government did not provide any. The months kept passing without an answer, and so the CEO of Gogo Nihon, Davide Rossi, decided to actively give a voice to all the students and workers who could not be able to enter in the country, organizing several live streams with politicians and us as guests, writing articles published in Japanese newspapers or show in the news, creating websites or hashtags on Twitter, and all that needed to be done to make this situation known, as especially to ask Japanese government at least for a clear answer. Of course, everything is in the description, so please take a look. And all we managed to achieve by them was something like, we are considering that, we are thinking about this, we are sorry for causing such a problem, and things like that, while again, months kept passing. So this lack of information regarding the entry ban and not having a precise timetable has obviously created many problems. For example, the impossibility of enrolling in other courses or study in the meanwhile, because again, it's impossible to plan anything that has a specific duration. For the same reason, if you are already working, the difficulty of guaranteeing a certain stability, because you might be forced to ask for your resignation at any time without even a proper warning, or even the struggle of finding a job in the meanwhile. Because in addition to the problems caused by the pandemic, which has generally affected new hires, this uncertainty makes the process even more difficult. Also, many people had problems with the rents as they did not renew their contract in provision of leaving by a certain date, and found themselves in serious problem because they had to look for new accommodation quickly to avoid being homeless, or because other tenants would have to take their place. Other students had problems with the timing related to their study plans, because some terms are not renewable or extendable and have lost the opportunity to study in Japan, maybe forever. Furthermore, many foreigner workers who should have started working in Japan because maybe they were already employed remotely had to give up and lost a secure job. International families have been separated, as many have returned to their country to see their relatives, for example, or even just for an holiday, and have been struck for several months before obtaining a special permit that to be able to return in Japan and seeing their partner. Also, international couples have suffered and still are suffering because of the distance. And after 2 years, some have broken up. And while this might seem not the biggest deal compared to the rest, I still think that is really sad and unfair since it happened due to an external factor. In my case, after graduation, I've lost my job along all the other guys who work with me when the pandemic started. And I was lucky because I had the opportunity to go back to my family's house, but not everyone have the same chance. So as you can imagine, those are just some of the many different situations caused by the entry ban, and some of these stories that I got to know happened to other students I met while waiting. Months kept passing until arriving around July, August, when the much debated Olympics were held in Tokyo. Of course, two completely different weights, but after seeing they've been able to let in about 80,000 people with all the necessary sanitary measures, of course, we would have expected they would go gradually let students in too. But again, nothing. The only easing of restriction took place around November, if I'm not mistaken, suggesting that perhaps they would remain open, giving us hope. But as soon as the new variant appeared, they immediately closed the borders. Only something like 17 people managed to enter in something like 2-3 weeks, around that. And it has happened that some people have lost their jobs because as soon as they heard the news about the reopening, and that was almost guaranteed, yeah, the reopening, at least starting from the max students, therefore students with a scholarship promoted by the Japanese government, they asked for resignation and changed their certificate of eligibility into a visa, but they were blocked when Japan suddenly closed the borders. Obviously, this created a big problem because, in addition to losing their job, they had to deal with the validity of the certificate of eligibility, which, once you convert into a visa, has a specific duration. And if you don't enter in the country soon, um, it's a big problem. What is sad for me is that many of this situation could have been resolved by handling that in a different way, especially if we are talking about years. We were all ready to be patient and comply with all the sanitation and then quarantine measures that will have been imposed, of course. And we really did everything to be heard and understood, but we were not taken in consideration. I also remember, among of all these things, that every time we had to rewrite the documents to send schools and immigration, one of the questions that we were asked was something like, "What economic benefits do you think you will provide to Japanese economy?" And such questions, keeping in mind that those questions are asked to students. Now, Japan is certainly not a cheap country, and in addition to the cost of living, we must consider the amount of money already paid for schools, and again, they are not really cheap. So it's not really nice, I think, to ask every time that you are already creating all these problems. In addition, you also ask me to explain how much money I will bring to your country, since in any case, students are expected to carry money to pay at least the first month of food, taxes, and accommodation, the cost of living in general. And you need to provide to be able to support yourself financially and before being accepted as a student, at least. If they want to put it on this level, I think that this ban does not even benefit Japan itself, since many promising students who had decided to invest their future by choosing Japan have changed their mind and their destination. Moreover, they also have created internal problems because if language schools no longer have foreigners students to teach because they cannot enter in the country, therefore there are no new enrollments. So Japanese teachers have lost their jobs, and some schools even gone bankrupt. Now, with this message is dedicated to all the people who, like me, were in this situation or still are in this situation. I know how difficult it is and it was to wait. I know how problematic it is not having a precise timing or on something important like our future, and to literally have to hold your life for such a long time. Having to wake up every morning with the uncertainty of having news about the reopening to end up with nothing, or hopes that were mm, dashed every time, finding ourselves stuck and unable to do anything because it didn't depend on us, having done everything possible that was in our power to participate on social networks, live streams, and feeling humiliated because every effort was never paid off, or worse, literally feeling cheated by a country for which we have worked so hard, put a lot of effort into it, and making many sacrifices and spending a lot of time and money only to be completely ignored. Mm, Feeling embarrassed and humiliated simply because we have decided to dedicate ourselves to a country that we have been fascinated maybe or to discover, that and then be treated in this way. Having to tell relatives and friends every time why we are still here, and maybe continue to defend their country because maybe it hurted us to admit it was unfair, or make us doubt about our own choice. Mm, so here I am telling you that I know how you might feel, but I would like to beg you to not underestimate your mental health, and even if it's difficult, make the right decision for you. I made mine, and I decided to quit because I decided I didn't want it keep to keep my life on hold anymore. Um, but if you want to keep waiting, please know that I support you and I will continue to be close to you, wishing you that you could enter in the country soon with all my heart. Um, if, like me, on the other hand, you have decided to quit, don't feel embarrassed or weak in any way for that, because you have resisted for such a long time and in a situation that has caused you many troubles and you didn't decide. um, so you made a decision that you deemed correct, with extreme courage, and you really shouldn't be embarrassed of. You should be proud of. Whatever happened to you about this situation, please just know that I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, and I really care. I know I am a random person on the internet, but I really do. So this message is for you, and I am here to say that I will support you. I know what you've been through. That you decide to go or you decide to quit, just just remember to please not underestimate your mental health. Uh, I was doing that at the beginning, and I realized that later. But of course, I was suffering, and it was something that was slowly, getting on me. So yeah, please don't underestimate that. I wish you the very best, whatever decision you will make. Now, I would like to conclude this video by saying that it's absolutely not aimed at bringing hatred to Japan nor to its citizens. Many of them are not even aware of this situation. Um, I have great Japanese friends. They've been always so supportive. Um, and Japan, with its traditions, cities, arts, and culture, will always fascinate me. But I choose to make this video um, to not forget what happened, um, and above all, to stay close and to support the people who have been and still are in this situation. Thank you so much for listening to me. I will keep my finger crossed for whatever choice you made. I know it was hard, and I really hope that Japan will finally open the border soon, so everybody could enter. I really want to support you if you still want to study in Japan and you didn't lost your hope. I really hope that you could finally be able to enter. On the other end, if you have resigned or if you're thinking to do that, as I did, it's a choice that you've made to finally get back your life, because it was on hold for too much time. So I know it's frustrating. I know it's sad because it's a decision that you had to make, but you decided to take your life back. So it's an hard decision, but I really support your choice either way. So for everyone, I just wish you the best, and I hope that the next time, or when you will see this video, maybe they will already have opened. I hope so, of course. So see ya, and I wish you the best, really.